and Louis and I were really paranoid about running out of money, and so we found this job for this gentleman who lived on the corner of the island, and he was in his 80s, and he was our new boss for a couple days. His name was Mal. He was medium height in a blue crew neck sweater and khakis, and wore an old light blue sailor's beanie which had globs of melted glue at the seams. The translucent yellowish globs of glue on his hat, which he didn't seem aware of, and I didn't feel the need to mention, added a sort of mad doctor streak to his general personality. He was discreet, mostly kept to himself all day, but then liked to come out and talk with us sporadically. He was swift and kind. He walked us around the patches of land surrounding his cottage. There were piles of scrap metal, rusted away doors from trucks, school desks still in one piece, jagged tools and pieces from roofs. Out to our left, next to a few trees, foregrounding a wide empty field that reminded me of North by Northwest, was a bright yellow-colored cylindrical tube. It was made out of metal, with elaborate curves but no windows. It was put on its side horizontal, and I could see two mandibles which looked stiff. Mal seemed to mosey on right past it, perhaps knowing we would ask. Louis went facetiously, "Is that your yellow submarine?" He said, Yes, it is," and casually walked forward, eager to describe the process of putting tar on one of his barn roofs. I asked, "Was it really a submarine?" He said, "Yes, and it was before the Beatles song, too. I thought yellow would be a great color." He had built the submarine when he learned that in 1943 a luxury ocean liner had sunk off the coast of Martha's Vineyard. He, tradesman that he was, and ex-Coast Guard macho man, spent a few years working on it. He stopped once he built a 1 to 10 scale test model and it malfunctioned. He didn't want to chat about that. But when he spoke of the mystery of the ocean liner, he regained a sense of adventure in his voice, some sort of charm that, I'm sure if it was the 60s, could have convinced Louis and I that this boat was worth searching for. We would have spent days and days, I'm sure, helping his crackpot project. The submarine looked in good condition from a distance. Maybe he'll convince Louis and I to get in it and get to the bottom of the sea, to take a video of his long-awaited ocean liner bride. Another bizarre addition to his farmland, which was starting to feel now like something out of Fellini, was a cellar he dug out, originally meant for a nuclear holocaust, now converted into housing for bats. We had been walking over a patch of dirt, and then he asked me to help him lift 2 planks of wood. Suddenly, a dark abyss revealed itself. I saw a ladder descending into the darkness. Geez, I thought, I don't want to turn my back to this guy. But Mal dispelled my fears. He said that years ago, a professor he had met on the island who studied bats asked if she could use the space, which looked maybe 20 feet deep and 30 feet wide, to house bats. Then Mal pointed to a cylinder a few feet away from the opening, a large round tin with an opening. Quote, "They come through here at night, to sleep during the day. They're down there now. This professor, she studies them with sound bites. The sound bites attract them here. Here, put your hand in. You'll feel that the air is hot. It's a different temperature down there." I did not dare put my hand in Dr. Frankenstein's can of bats, but Louis did and confirmed the radical temperature change. Next, he brought us to his home. It was an elaborate 1-story palace. It had a circle-like style. You enter in one room, walk to the kitchen, which connects to a workshop, which connects to a large room for books, which connects to a living room, and his office, and a small bed with a fire stove from 1930. The colors in the living room were maroon and yellow, and he had piles and piles of books on bonobos. Bonobos, the species of apes that have obsessed scientists for generations with their female-dominated society, intelligence, and peacekeeping living style, were one of the particular obsessions of this insulated, inventive homeowner. He seemed to have met all the doctors involved with recent books on the bonobo species, and on his wall hung a black and white sketch of a bonobo's face made by his daughter, who he had sent to have dinner with a bonobo specialist from Harvard. He talked also about the scientist and writer Franz de Waal, who who he says is a very stuffy guy, academic. Mal then brought us into a small room which was packed to the brim with pictures and boxes and neatly cut plywood. In the middle of the room, haphazardly placed between two doorways and a mirror, was an old pianola from the 1930s with a harp installed on the top. He told us about when he got lost at the 1939 World's Fair, where he bought a wooden cane that turned into a portable seat, and how angry his grandparents had been when they found him. Then, Mal's fingers began dancing on the old piano. Ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. He was playing a catchy jingle he must have learned for parties. Back outside, we noticed that a large piece of land was covered in a carpet. He said, "Oh, we were going to dance on that. But then we realized this carpet had no spring. No, not good for dancing after all." Yet, he had kept it. Lots of walls he had built with cinder blocks, many of which were crumbling, could be found. I wondered why anyone would make anything with these flimsy blocks which caved in and fell and were nasty to hold and transport. As we left, we noticed an air net, and he told us about a dream he had where a plane crashed into his field and he had to help repair it. In the dream, he jumped up, left his small bed, and made it to the field, but saw no one around the wreckage. Since then, it seemed he became interested in building a small airfield on his property. As we drove away, we noticed the wonderful view he had. He lives on a peak off the cove of the island, a wonderful view of the water and the ocean. He must look out sometimes and wonder about the boat at the bottom of the sea. He says he chose this place to build near where his parents lived, and that it used to be an outpost of the Coast Guard. Mal wanted to keep talking, but Louis and I had to get some food. We were tired after our work, and I wasn't sure I had it in me to learn any more about the bonobos. But we will be returning. As we left, we saw his chickens jumping from a branch of a tree onto a 30-foot-long sailboat suspended in the air by poles. That was a sight. The whole episode of Seeing His Land felt like something out of Wes Anderson. He lived in his own styles, with his own colors, and with time to think up his own projects.